I love action movies that come from the perspective of putting the performer in the action.
Best way to fake being good is just to be good. And that takes sweat, blood, and tears.
You have to constantly train and evolve because people know what real stuff looks like now.
I'd never worked harder for anything.
He knows a golden rule that very few even directors know. There's no separation between story and action. The story doesn't stop because you start driving a car or start shooting a gun.
For me, action has always been about if I'm there, then that connection between the audience and I and the character is close to visceral emotional impact. Over the years of doing the John Wick training, the physicality, the martial arts, and then the weapon work, I've gotten better. So I'm really the ceiling because the vision is always bigger than me. And when you're the limit, you can always get better because the vision is always greater than you. And for me, it's such a pleasure and a pressure, but also it's the best kind of like, you've got to be better to realize the vision because then the character and the story can be more profound. And with John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, the vision was really high.
Our goal is to have the actors do as much as possible so we can have the longest takes with them in action, and then we'll jump in if, you know, insurance or we just feel that they're not going to be safe in something like a car hit or high fall or anything like that.
We're gonna sit in a gym for 6 months and just get as good as a stunt guy. Not learn moves, but literally be trained as a martial arts stunt performer. Your own falls, your own rides, your own cars, your own motorcycles, and get in the mix.
I think if there's any other action actor or actor, there wouldn't be a John Wick. I think he's the only one that can play him. He can do everything. He's just as good as any stunt guy out there.
Keanu has spent over 1,000 hours with Taron Butler, one of the best three-gun firearm champions in the world. He's spent thousands of hours with the 8711 stunt team learning judo, jiu-jitsu, sambo, and all the arts that come along with it. Not just the art form of martial arts, but the choreography sense of it, the endurance sense of it. And being over 50, the physical limitations that one gets at that age has to be overcome with even more hours of physical fitness training.
It really was one of the hardest, if not the hardest, physical stories I've had to tell. Because there's a lot more action in Parabellum than there is in the other two films.
When we train him, we'll go for hours and hours and hours, and he just won't stop.
I mean, you don't get to show up and do what he does without having a stellar work ethic. He's determined, he's relentless in his pursuit. He's talented in this area, and he's fearless. He will try and do anything, and he won't stop until he gets it right. He puts in the time, and you can't be John Wick if you didn't really go to the gym, go to the training facility, and actually put in the work.
Eric Brown and Chad, they made him an actual judo person. That's what he's accomplished over these 3 movies.
You can't just do one take and move on. It is 12 hours a day for weeks, sometimes months of action. In John Wick 3, 5 months of nothing but action sequences is a lot. In the rain, in New York, running up and down Fifth Avenue, riding horses, riding motorcycles, and getting the shit kicked out of you by some of the best martial arts stuntmen in the business. That takes a level of commitment that is not normal.
It's demanding. But that demanding, that thing, is also, it's pleasure, right? Which I love.
That's what makes him special. He understands the connection. He understands why he's doing it, and he's more than willing to give the time. And if you see the other cast members that went through the same action training in Parabellum, they understand the same level of commitment. I'm not sure who hired who. I can't tell if I hired Hallie or she hired me.
You know, he should not be telling people that.
So we'd put the word out like, look, we're looking for someone that really believed in the acting side of it and who was willing to give us the time to train her to be a little bit more on the action side of things. I wanted the transformation.
I just said, well, can I go in and talk to him? Because I think he's just amazing. And I just want to tell him that I'm going to do this movie, and I just want him to meet me because I think he should meet me.
Dude up there. It was right after Christmas as we were prepping the show. I got a knock on the office door, and it was Halle Berry. I'm like, hi. And she's like, hi, I'm Halle. I'm like, I know who you are.
And I told him, I said, I just love this. And I said, I really want to do it. So if you haven't written it, why don't you think about writing it for me? Because I promise you I'll kill it. And then a few days later, I left there and he called back and he said, okay, I want you to kill it. Just know you're not going to have a life for about 6, 8, 9 months.
And it's not fun. It's fun for like the first week, and then it's the diet, the physical training. You know, we have this idea we want to do with dogs and firearms.
I said, great, sign me up.
Some people say they want to do John Wick training, and then it starts. And then they're like, oh, this is John Wick training. And when Halle Berry said she wanted to do that, Chadwick said, here you go. And Halle said, thank you, sir. Can I please have some more?
Probably the hardest 6, 7 months I think I've experienced in my professional life. 8711 is like a place you've never seen. There's so many stuntmen and women there, and they're all of the Chad world, which is you work hard, you don't quit, you don't rest much, and if you're hurt, so what? You just come back and you do it again tomorrow. There's no room for complaining. It's just put your head down and do the work.
She did a great job. Lots of punching, kicking, throwing guys in the air, all sorts of good stuff.
Heidi Moneymaker, I think she was the key for me because when I first started training, Chad was in New York with Keanu, and Heidi was my lifeline, and she started my training.
We're really lucky that, one, Halle has been very athletic her whole life.
I was a gymnast as a kid, so all of this just allows me to sort of use all the things that I used to know. Some stuff I still know, some stuff I'm having to learn over again.
And two, she's such a hard worker. You have to start everyone at the beginning and give them a really basic foundation, and that's what we've done with her. But she picks stuff up really fast, and if she doesn't, she'll stay in it until she does.
I would just not quit.
And I don't think she ever missed a workout in the 5 months.
I learned judo, jiu-jitsu, gun fu, hand-foot combat. The hardest part is, one, stamina. You know, sometimes we're in here 4 hours and just nonstop for me. So it's about making sure I'm eating right and staying hydrated, because when you get really tired, you lose the ability to think and remember, and nobody wants to get injured. So it's about just trying to keep my energy level up for that long because I really want to get it.
There's always been a strong female character in the John Wick films, which I love. This time, her style is really similar to John Wick. They kind of come from the same place. She's a real assassin, and she's coming in here and she's spending weeks and weeks and weeks training to become like John Wick.
I had to learn to fight, one, like Keanu, and I had to learn to fight with him in very close proximity. And I think that was new for Keanu, too, because he was used to doing it all by himself. When I come into the movie, he has a partner that he's fighting with that's trained very much like him. Things that he's really good at, I had to learn how to do.
But it has a more of a female-driven spark to it. But I'm always thinking, at my size, how could I actually take this guy down? So that's kind of what we've done with Halle, is like, okay, here's a bunch of cool throws, and what would actually work in a bar if I had to actually take down a guy? So that's kind of what we've done, is gone back and tried to figure out what a smaller woman could do to these big, tall, 6'4" guys, and really actually in real life take them down.
Things that just, not only are they needed for this movie, but they will serve me in life.
She's been doing great with the gun fu. She's been doing great out at the range, you know, with live rounds. I don't think she really likes guns in the first place.
The first session I had, I literally broke out in hives. I was so uncomfortable holding something so powerful and a bit afraid of it. What helped me was I connected to the thought that while I'll never own a gun, I have 2 small children. And if someone ever pulled a gun on me, now I would know what to do with it if I was lucky enough to get it away from them, you know? And with all of my other John Wick training, I might get it away. And when I get it, I have to know what to do with it in order to save, you know, my family. So once I connected to that was the reason I was doing this training, then I sailed. And I realized my first day of shooting that having trained for 6 months was essential in getting through this process and not blowing up the place.
They're willing to put in the time to become the character.
Really worked really hard for months and months.
It's just taking that time to constantly hone your skills, create new ones, just move on from there.
And now I think I have the bug. Like, I just want to keep going and going and going and going.